Well, NJ, I think this is going to be a rather funny video because in this video, we're going to be looking back at the worst moments of Raw from 2011 to 2012. And boy, have we got some good ones to talk about here. You'll see us bashing a load of shit. You'll see us being funny. You'll see some entertainment. This is basically just no holds barred. Let's talk about this. Let's just have some fun doing it.
So instead of me saying the good, bad, and ugly, let's just go with the bad and the ugly.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad and ugly in here. Subscribe up above, guys. Like this video and comment your thoughts on some of the worst moments we've had in WWE on Raw since 2011 to 2012. Down in our comment section below.
And please, to keep us going with the good things, please contact us in the link in the description box below.
The first one, the Sin Cara character. Remember when Sin Cara came in on his debut and he botched his entrance on his debut? He hit the ropes and it was just like, oh god, you can kind of see the character going a bit downhill from here.
The fact is, I can't remember. The thing is, debuting a new character on Raw isn't really what the WWE always do. They start with SmackDown, build them up to Raw, unless they are true main eventers and they go straight to Raw. Sin Cara, yes, Triple H may have seen him in other shows and loved him and thought it was great, but he took a big chance putting him onto a live show. And with Sin Cara, yes, he may have been entertaining where he was before, but the WWE have high expectations coming to their wrestlers.
And when you see a guy like Sin Cara botch his entrance, you're just like, oh my god, this is, I mean, he did have some steam, but then he just went down and no one really cares about him anymore. And then he botched his move at Survivor Series when he tore his patella tendon by running.
The painful thing is, when it comes to Money in the Bank, the WWE had to do the worst thing to write him off. So they had him go to injury. One of the earliest people in the match to be taken out of the match. And yes, it was kind of a big point to be in that match. But Sin Cara's future at that particular time, yes, he has a direction now with Ray. But back then, people were bashing him, even though the WWE, especially Triple H, wanted him to go far.
The Michael Cole character was involved in a very memorable feud because it was terrible with Jerry the King Lawler. And one of the things they did, this is actually in the next two we're going to talk about here. In England, we had Cole getting knighted by a fake queen. Now, the knighting thing is something we take very seriously over here in Great Britain. I understand why Americans thought it was probably going to be a way of getting heel heat. But the knighting thing is supposed to be for important people. And when we saw Michael Cole getting knighted, it was just like, oh my fucking god.
And they did come up with UK-related things to make this show work, but when you bring in the Queen into this, you are taking a big step here because you want to do well. Yes, they did other US celebrities in their show and made fun of them, but with this, Michael Cole being knighted, what a joke, what a stupid person to be knighted, and the fact is all adding up to his King feuding thing. It really was horrible, and I just thought, why do this, WWE?
The 25th of April edition of Raw in 2011 was quite possibly took place one of the worst matches we've seen in the 2 years. And what a surprise that involved Michael Cole and JR. Do you remember how bad this match was on Raw?
I've never agreed with commentators wrestling against each other. Their job is commentators and few comedy segments with wrestlers in the ring. But this, oh my gosh, Michael Cole, yes, you're trying to raise his bar up to become a bigger name. Jim Ross, he's taking nothing away from him. He's getting old now, and that. So this match really didn't deliver what the WWE may have hoped it for.
I mean, we knew it was never going to be a great wrestling match, but goddamn, this was just painful to sit through. Thank God it only went a couple of minutes. That roll up by Michael Cole or JR, I can't even remember who won. That's how bad it was. We then get to the draft edition of Raw, when you had John Cena drafted to SmackDown. And then he gets drafted back to Raw again. And I think I remember rightly, we did a drafts reactions video, and it's still one of our most viewed videos today because it's got NJ reacting to John Cena going to SmackDown, a show he didn't really watch, and then returning back to Raw. What a stupid move this was by WWE to have one guy go from taking up 2 draft picks from SmackDown to Raw.
Even though John Cena was my most hated wrestler, when he going to SmackDown, which weren't the show we were watching, reviewing, I was like, yes! Get rid of that sucker from the show that I love, the show that I watch every week. But then by the end of the night, the last match, he was like, oh, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? John Cena. And the crowd were like, boo! What? This was stupid, WWE. What were you reading this from? John Cena should be staying on SmackDown, fucked up from Raw, because no one wants to see him, and he messed that show up.
He was on SmackDown this week, and we didn't like it.
No, he didn't!
One character that was very strong when it debuted in WWE Over the Limit, I believe, or Extreme Rules, I'm sorry, was Karma. Now, we had that segment on the 23rd of May edition of Raw where we found out that Kia Stevens, aka Karma, had a baby, and they did this segment where Karma broke down. We've not seen her since, but goddamn, that was a terrible moment. Not just because of the segment itself, the fact that she broke down, but the fact that then she never appeared on WWE apart from the Rumble, and she had this baby, and it just came at a really bad time because she was due a big push for WWE.
The biggest thing about Karma is, for the fans who did know her from other companies, seeing her come to the WWE, do the big thing at the Rumble, have the future with Beth Phoenix, who at the time was going for the championship. Something big was their big storyline. Big Beth versus Big Karma. Big match made for WrestleMania at the time. And it was really sad. That's why I'm trying to not go too much down the bad path. That the sad thing obviously went down for Karma. And now every idea the WWE had for her is now sizzled away.
And you really have to ask yourself, guys, if WWE couldn't book the Divas division around Karma, then they have really no hope in that Divas division. But there we go. October was an interesting month for WWE because we had that silly walkout angle, which was stupid, and then we had the walkout angle just to get Triple H over as a babyface, and then Johnny Ace was made the GM. That walkout angle lasted a couple of Raws, and then Johnny Ace got made the GM. At the time, it was a terrible decision because the guy really couldn't talk. I know I came to like him later, but that walkout angle was just terrible.
The thing about this is that they were trying so hard to make Triple H a face when I think his best work has been as a heel.
Yeah.
And when he came to COO, I think the whole corrupted of him trying to get his own way over the WWE, his own feuds were getting involved. People were really going against him, and that led to the big surround the ring, ever walk out, Jim Ross walking out. It was really hard to watch, really sad to watch, and this helped because obviously the 15 extra minutes Raw gives us. I just really think this was the best way to give Triple H the best, the King of Kings, the face turn that the WWE may have wanted him to have.
Yeah, Johnny Ace's GM.
No, thank you.
We're gonna botch. Oh dear. That was terrible until he became Mr. Entertainment People Power. Anyway, the 31st of October is a time for a big time in America because it's Halloween, and Raw had an edition of Raw on Halloween, and it was the Muppets Halloween Raw. Now, this isn't a bad point because of the Muppets. This was a bad point because the edition of Raw sucked. The Muppets, this is how bad it was. The Muppets was the best part of Raw because Raw sucked that much that day.
With the Muppets being there, this comes up to one of our bad points, which we'll get to more in detail later. But the Muppets, yes, they're a big worldwide thing. Everyone knows, everyone loves them, people hate them. But having them the highlight of a wrestling show, it really doesn't help that particular show and the build towards the pay-per-view, which I don't really think that show had a lot of. So it really affected that Raw really strong.
I know WWE appeals to kids, but the Muppets, a special guest on the show, the Muppets, I'm just saying. I was never a fan of the Muppets, so I'm just throwing it out there. NJ, this is your life. I'm going to be bringing up many people from your past that have really influenced your life. Don't really have anyone planned because this was a really off-the-cuff segment, but this is basically a way of setting up John Cena, This Is Your Life. Oh, look, there's someone. Yeah. From your past. The John Cena, This Is Your Life segment.
Yes!
That's how awkward it was. That's how awkward that segment was. It was just like, okay.
Yeah, the W tried to relive so that worked really well in the past.
The most rated segment in Raw history.
Very true, yeah.
But with Cena.
Mankind, The Rock, the best two to have in the ring doing this. Try and put John Cena in Rock's place because obviously they were feuding at the time. This really didn't work. It was boring. John Cena's friends or people who liked him or related to him, it was absolutely sucked. WWE, I'm glad it did not affect the Rock's one at all. It didn't even touch it, meet that criteria of that importance. But this WWE, I bet Mick Foley was like, that sucked.
Do you remember John Cena's dad came in saying, "Oh, you all hate my boy. He does really hard work. Yeah, you all hate him." And we were just like, "Look, just go away. This isn't your place. This isn't your place, buddy. Come on." That was just such a bad, awkward segment.
I'm really sorry, WWE. You let down something that was really big in the past, and you tried to redo it, which is one of your main aspect problems in the WWE. You try to redo stuff, it doesn't work, and this is one of them.
And Vince Russo managed to do something better than this creative team. I think that says a lot about the current creative team in WWE.
There was a time in the WWE when Kevin Nash came back to the WWE. Who wants to see that worthless mortal who did absolutely nothing when he was back? The fact he went on for a few weeks to a month it was nothing but boring. WWE, what the hell are you thinking? If you bring him back, there'll be hell to pay.
Any segment where Vickie Guerrero and Jim Ross were dancing. How dare you interrupt me? That isn't even heel heat. That's get the fuck off the YouTube channel heat you're generating there, NJ.
This was horrible. Vickie Guerrero, GM, manager, whatever stupid role was, coming to the ring. Again, it goes back to our earlier point. Anything that involves commentators does not work. And this, getting a commentator dancing or wrestling, Vickie doing the same, it does not work.
And they tried to revisit the Jim Ross and Michael Cole feud at the opener of the Slammy edition of Raw. And then you had Jim Ross dancing. And it was just like, this was just really awkward. It was funny, but it was awkwardly funny. I will say that. You know, the second of the first of the 12th year was an interesting time because that was the time when a certain rock and roller of Ayatollah, or whatever he calls himself, Chris Jericho returns. And when he returned, NJ, what did he do? Come on, baby! Come on, baby!
There was really nothing to this. It went on. Some people saying, yes, we all know Jericho's a great talker on the mic. This is actually leading to something bigger down the line. Yes, it did. But it went on for more than just 3 weeks or so. It dragged on and on and on. And then his promo when he actually spoke was something's coming at night led to the Rumble. And
it never happened. Oh, the day as the Rumble is the time the world is going to end. And it never happened. So this whole return thing was built up really well. And then he came out, didn't say anything, was trying to troll us. And it just did not make for good TV at all. It was a terrible way of returning Chris Jericho, in my opinion. But anyway, the 9th of January edition of Raw, the week after Jericho's return, we had the debut of a certain Brodus Clay, but he didn't debut as the big monster Mark motherfucking Henry kick your ass Brodus Clay.
His video packages did show he was debuting as.
He instead debuted as the Funkasaurus. Something don't know, something don't know. And it's stealing Ernest Miller's music, by the way. Remember when he debuted? Remember we looked at each other, we went, what the fuck? And it wasn't necessarily bad, because I thought it was a decent idea at the time, but I'm still putting this in the bad one because of the way they built it up as if he was a monster and then debuted him as the Funkasaurus.
The sad thing is, it's a real shame when the divas are overpowering in greatness than the actual wrestler that the WWE would try their hardest through his career as the Funkasaurus to actually go somewhere.
Another debut which just went flat was Tensai. Remember when Tensai debuted? It was like, hurry up! Boom, boom. And all of a sudden, no reaction! No reaction! The only reaction you ever got was Albert. What a terrible character to debut, Lord Tensai!
Yes, he went to Japan and did all that training and stuff up there. He should have stayed there because coming back as the character he was out there as did not work. People did not care about him. Yes, he went up against the best in his first few matches like John Cena, CM Punk. But then all of a sudden, he could not stay up there, which he should have done if they were going to try and make him serious. But this was a letdown and they're still trying with him.
And then he jobbed in 10 seconds to Tyson Kidd. Oh, NJ, please give me my job back. Please. I want to stay on this YouTube channel. I want to be part of the British. Please. I'll do anything. Give me my job back. Please. Apparently, that manages to draw 1 million viewers. And I think you guys know what segment I'm talking about. Big Show begging for his job. What an awful segment that was on the 14th of May edition of Raw 2012. But it drew 1 million people.
The thing about this, it drew a lot of people, which I really don't agree. People tried to defend it, but to be honest, Big Show's character working with the McMahons all the way up there, Hell in a Cell style with DX and all that, then all of a sudden, I'm going to turn face. I'm going to go up to my job back. What the hell's happened to my career?
Then I'm going to turn heel and I'm involved in the World Championship. That's
and
what
then still went down.
But that segment alone was terrible, even though it really did set up something that happened at the pay-per-view. It was just awful to watch. It dragged on and on and on. It was, oh god!
It did, and even that feud with John Cena, that got complaints. So to be honest, I can't look at Big Show the way I did when he was with the McMahons. He's not the Big Show that I want to see him as anymore.
Another candidate for worst match of 2012 was when they had John Cena face Michael Cole in the main event of Raw, after they just had John Cena versus John Laurinaitis over the limit. Do you remember how all this worked on the 4th of June edition of Raw, when you had John Cena putting JR's barbecue sauce on Michael Cole, who was in boxers? How awkwardly bad was that main event match?
You could see John Cena try to bring comedy to that match that really weren't working. Yeah, he got a few cheers that he got beaten up. But the thing about this match, it really didn't go anywhere. It's boring. Again, it goes back to what I've said many times. Wrestling commentators does not work!
I'd love to have seen the ratings for that segment, but anyway, let's just move on from that, because that was awful. We're just going to move on to something equally as bad, NJ. So, remember that anonymous GM storyline where it's like, the intrigue was like, who's this anonymous GM?
Who is it?
Who is it going to be? We had this built up for like 2 years, and then all of a sudden, they decide to relive this storyline and reveal the anonymous GM as...
Edge.
No, it was Hornswoggle. Do you remember that one? When he came out from under the ring with the laptop? So, WWE were trying to tell me that a midget like Hornswoggle was controlling Raw for 2 years. What a bunch of bullshit. And all the crap that led to it. They had all this overbooking. It wasn't even part of like a proper segment. It was just a match which had overbooking. And they had this involved in it. And they had all this crap in one segment.
The thing is, the build up to it got many ideas thrown in our heads. Some pretty good ones.
Hornswoggle.
Then we're going against Nexus, Vince McMahon. It could have been something really big. Hornswoggle had his big storyline when he was going through that stupid father role with Vince or adopted son, whatever his illegitimate
bastard
That's
son.
the thing, yeah. He's had his big storyline. He did not need this. I'm glad it was only a one-night thing, but it
put it to rest, but in a really bad way. And Jay.
That could have been any of the W's new wrestlers, this could be.
I'm talking about the Three Stooges. Remember when they guest hosted Raw? How bad that was? We're going to come to the ring and we're going to dress like Hulk Hogan, brother, because he's in TNA and that's exactly what the crowd are going to mark out for, brother. Remember how bad that edition of Raw was with the Three Stooges? The Three Stooges, which are 50 years too fucking late on the WWE TV.
Yes, in America, there's many people who love them, and think they're great, enjoyed watching them, and still thought they were great there. But to be honest, their comedy is, in my opinion, John Cena's comedy. It's rubbish, it doesn't work, I don't really find them funny, and the fact that they came up numerous times throughout the show, it really let it down for me. And that brings it to me saying, the guest host, it just sucked.
The whole guest host thing started off good, but my god, the Three Stooges guest hosted Raw. That's worse than the Muppets!
Hang on.
It's terrible!
Did I just hear you say 3?
Yes, you did hear me say 3, and that brings us very fittingly onto our next point. The worst, some of the worst shows in WWE this week have been 3 hours, and the reason why, this is the moment, the 3-hour show has been a terrible moment on Raw. We had Raw 1000, a great show, but after that, any 3-hour show dragged, it was bad, they didn't have all the wrestlers involved, the segments were terrible. Oh god, 3-hour Raws now, even if they're good, just drag, which is why this deserves on this list. The 3-hour Raws that we've been getting for the last couple of months since the Raw 1000 have been awful.
At first, when it first happened, yes, 3 hours is a long time, especially after a pay-per-view, which is 3 hours too. At first, I was giving it compliments, thinking it could go somewhere, because I was hoping the WWE were going to use their hidden roster, but the fact they didn't, only once every few weeks, it did not work, and the WWE just kept doing replays, long segments involving Cena, AJ, Vickie, Alberto, John Orton. It really didn't work, and I just thought the WWE ran out of ideas really quickly.
They did run out of ideas really quickly, and I will say this. The 3-hour show is responsible for the reason why this video is shown on Monday rather than the Raw review, and why you need to see a Raw review from us now the next day, because quite frankly, Raw has got to a point where we just cannot watch it anymore, and instead of doing reviews, we're doing rundowns, which are a fucking hell of a lot better, because I only have to watch 5 minutes of Raw, and that is the interesting stuff. But 3-hour editions of Raw, the reason why we do these videos today is because of the 3-hour edition of Raw, which is how bad that era is for WWE.
And there are going to be people who try and defend this, but before you defend it, make sure you look back at the last few weeks' Raw and at least give me 4 segments from each Raw that you liked.
How can people defend 3 hours? How can you sit there for even if you really enjoyed Raw, 3 hours is still a long time to sit there and watch a Raw. So defend it if you will. But I am afraid here you will not be able to defend a 3-hour Raw, and I will respond to your comment, and I will bury you into the ground if you defend 3-hour Raws. But there we go. So, that's been fun. We've talked about all the worst moments. We've had the best moments, and then we had the worst moments. Which video did you enjoy most? I must admit, I like this one because it was just funny.
The fact that we did give W credit, even though we've been bad-mouthing it, that was a good video to do, give it compliments. But the negatives, the fact that when they do negative stuff, we can add humour to it. We can say how the WWE thought it was a good idea, but it turned out to be a bad idea. So the fact that the negatives have actually made us do this. But I'm pretty sure over this whole year or two, we've missed out some bad points.
We probably have missed out a lot of bad points because there have been many bad points on Raw, guys. And this is where you guys come in. We want you to give us some of your worst moments on Raw from the beginning of 2012, from the beginning of 2011, I should say, to the end of 2012. So that'll be interesting to see what you guys come up with, see if you've got anything different from our list. So get that in the comment section below.
And thank you very much, people, from Mr. Parkin standing right here, who did his job in this video, and me, NJ, standing right here, who did his job in this video right here. Thank you very much, YouTubers. This has been the Bad and the Ugly of Raw. Till next time, YouTubers. Goodbye.